What's up guys, it's Skill Up here with another Division video direct from E3. Today I wanted to give you a really detailed breakdown of everything that I learned about how the underground dungeons plural, how they work. I actually spent pretty much the entire day playing underground, which was really fantastic for a variety of reasons. The short story was that I did like 2 hours of capture, and it turns out that all of that was corrupted, so I needed to go back to the capture studio area to do more capture, and finally got my footage. So obviously I played more of it than I was meant to, which means I got to really get a good sense of what it's all about, and that's what this video is today. So let's start it off. How does this all work? So dungeons are, the underground is an area that you sort of queue up for, and you head into this sort of lobby area, which I think is some way connected to your base of operations, but that's not quite clear to me. But you sort of go into this this area, and there's a big table in the middle. You approach this table, and if you're the group leader, then you can then start organizing the mission, right? The operation. Now, the first thing that you're able to choose is the number of phases that you're going to go through, right? So you have a choice of phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3, and this essentially is about how long the incursion is going to, or not the incursion, excuse me, the operation is going to go for. So they generally take around 15 minutes each. So obviously, one time you're going to get 15 minutes, 2 times 30, 3 times 45 minutes, all in, depending on how efficient your group is and what difficulty you set it at. So that's that first bit, selecting how long you're going to go. So that's just to confirm you are not going infinitely. Some people were suggesting that these dungeons were like infinite greater rifts, like in Diablo. That is not the case. They stop after a maximum of 3 sort of tiers, three areas back to back. So after that, you select your difficulty. You'll notice that there's actually an additional difficulty now. There's heroic difficulty, which I've confirmed with the developers is not any more, or there's no different mechanics, and the level and the mobs are not any higher level. It's just more mobs, and they're apparently more aggressive. Those were the words that were used by the developer as he was explaining that to me. So that's what the difference in difficulty there means. After you selected that, you then select your conditions or your modifiers or what have you. Any of you that have played Destiny and have played a Nightfall will kind of know what this is. They're modifiers that sort of negatively impact your ability to function, right? And in the case of this operation, the more of these you select, the better your rewards get at the end. So if you make it harder for yourself, you get better rewards at the end. So what are these? So the first one is called Fog of War, and that one will actually, remove your minimap, right? And this sort of seems like, oh yeah, no big deal, I don't really need it. But believe me, there were definitely times when I died because I didn't have my minimap, because I instinctively looked towards it to know where I'm being shot from or hit from, and I'm like, oh wow, cool, my minimap would have been really helpful then, and I'm just lying on the floor dead at that point. So the next one is called Waste Not, Want Not, I believe. And it essentially means that when you reload your weapon when the magazine is not empty, you lose those bullets. And so let's say, for instance, I've got a gun with 30 rounds in the mag, and I reload when it's got 15 bullets left, then I've lost those 15 bullets, right? They don't go back to my reserves, I just lose them completely. This is actually a really big deal, because pretty much every time I've run underground now, I've had ammo troubles, yeah, it's a really big deal, to be honest with you. Now, I did not use the Lone Star trick, and I asked the developers if Lone Star, that where you sort of equip 2-piece Lone Star and then unequip it afterwards, I asked them if that was going to get fixed. They couldn't say, they didn't know. But yeah, ammo is definitely a challenge. So unless Lone Star gets fixed, then everybody is going to be sort of wearing 2-piece Lone Star before an operation starts to try and cheese that ammo requirement. So just watch out for that one. The next modifier, actually, when you use one skill, it actually puts both of your skills on cooldown. Now, this is a pretty big deal in general, but it's fine, it's manageable. You generally can sort of survive without things like a pulse, so long as you keep your heal ready. But if you've pulsed aggressively as you move into a room and then you find yourself in trouble, not having your heal up is a challenge. So it obviously is better for skill power builds because they get their cooldowns up faster. But yeah, it's definitely something to consider. The final one is called Special Forces, I believe. And this one actually gives your enemies the chance to use consumable ammo types like incendiary rounds or explosive rounds. And believe me, this is a really big deal. Like, there's a reason this one is number 4, and it's because it really messes you up. Like, you take a lot more damage, and you're obviously status affected, which means that when you drop, you can actually be on fire when you're sort of sitting on the ground after you've just been knocked down, and you'll just die straight away. You just die really fast. So, I mean, whenever I did the underground, we had no trouble doing it on normal mode, obviously. We had some difficulty doing it on hard mode because our characters were terribly optimized. Like, I have like 100k toughness, and we all had no gear mods and all sorts of things. But when we put on this modifier, this special forces modifier, and the enemies had this consumable ammo, definitely kicked it up a notch. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see how that works. Now, there is one final modifier, which is called Sickness, which is a modifier that actually causes you to constantly take damage over time. So you constantly need to heal yourself. And of course, the challenge with that is that you also are going to be having, you may have the other option enabled where you sort of have your skill cooldowns linked. So you're sort of down an ability a lot of the time. So yeah, it's an interesting one. We did not have that unlocked because within the operations, within these dungeons, there's actually a new ranking system. I guess I should also mention, first of all, in order to queue these, in order to start them, you actually need to have intel, right? So just the same way you need it for high value targets, you also need intel. And I did confirm from the developers that that's exactly the same intel that we're earning now, and it's earned in exactly the same way. That hasn't changed. So you need intel to run these. And then when you do that, you'll earn reputations within the underground that you're able to use for things. I don't know quite what. I know there was a vendor nearby. I'm not sure if their stuff was locked behind that reputation, but I wouldn't be surprised. And yeah, so this number 5 sort of what do you call it, modifier was hidden behind a reputation requirement that we had not unlocked, so we actually couldn't test that one. But that's it. So after you've done that, you actually kind of just you confirm it, you restock at the box, you go outside, and you all wait at the train. If you start before everyone else is there, for some reason the mission starts and you're actually the other person who's not there is kicked out of the group. It's a bit weird how it works, but anyway, that's how it is. And then in you go, and you are now live in the mission. Now, let's be really clear about how this works, right? This is not these are randomly generated dungeons, right? But what's happened is that there's like a lot of them, but it appears as though the developers have come in after that and like looked at what's been randomly generated just to make sure it's not too crazy or broken, and then they sort of run with that and said, yeah, cool, this is in, right? This is a good one. And I've been informed that there are hundreds of these different templates that they've been using, but so it is all randomly generated, and there's a huge variety of content. I never saw the same area twice, and I played for a lot today. I never even saw 2 areas that were similar, really. It was always very fresh and very different, and there was a lot of variety in it as well. Sometimes it felt like I was going through Warren Gate, and sometimes it felt like I was going through a train yard, and sometimes it felt like I was going through one of those underwater treatment plants, and it was just very different every time I did it, and it was really good from that perspective because it always felt fresh. And so to know that there's just so many options out there, and they've all been randomly generated, and then they all work because they've been tested by the developers is really, really good. That's a great feature. So yeah, essentially you just go through it. Now it's all modifiable, so that's all modifiable, randomly generated at a baseline in terms of the map. But what's also randomly generated is the objective that you have, and also the type of enemies that you're facing. So you could go in and it's a clear, right? Or it could be Rikers, or it could be whoever, rioters, or whatever. It's just totally random every time. And what's also totally random as well is the objective. So it could be something like go and kill a boss, or go and rescue someone, or go and find this, or go and destroy these supplies, So, I mean, obviously, it's pretty much the same at the end of the day, in that we're sort of progressing through an area and we're killing everything we see, but it's slightly different in the way that we do that towards the end, which is nice. So, yeah, I mean, they do take around 15 minutes, I found. Interestingly enough, one of the additions to all this is environmental hazards. So they've added things like fire, and they've added electricity, sort of things. But what's funny about those is that they only seem to appear in the transition areas between where the combat occurs. So it's kind of like they're just sort of there right now, and they don't really serve a purpose, I don't think. They're just kind of like, oh, I stepped in some electricity, haha, silly me, go back, turn on a button and continue on. Whereas I think it would have been quite cool if that stuff was actually in the sort of combat area, and I was like, oh shit, I'm pinned down, oh, I can't go behind me because that area is, on fire, and I need to turn off turn some valve to get rid of that flame. Like, that doesn't happen, right? Not from what I've seen. And I guess I, of course, need to remind you that, this is all still in development. The build that we are on was largely stable, but there was an issue at the end that didn't quite work for us because, it's in development. So it's totally understandable that things don't quite work perfectly. But, so that's how that works in terms of those random environmental hazards. I guess the other thing is that all the enemies seem to drop grenades when they die. I don't know why that is, but just, every single one now drops a grenade when they die. I don't know. That was never actually called out, and I didn't even think to ask what that was about, but you'll notice that when you get through that as well. They all sort of do like a Call of Duty martyrdom / last stand thing when they're on their way out, and that makes it obviously interesting because you can't sort of be like right on top of an enemy when they drop, otherwise you're actually exposing yourself to a lot more risk. Beyond that, as I said, ammo was a challenge. I was constantly running out of ammo towards the end, and it's actually hard to find supply boxes because you don't have your mini-map and they're not marked. So you actually need to look for them with your eyes, which is crazy. And but you obviously find one and then you find. But in the meantime, ammo is a challenge. Ammo is a very big challenge, in fact, and so watch out for that. Have your Lone Star ready, and just be cautious with your ammo. Don't be reloading too fast if you're running that reload modifier that eats your bullets, because it was a really big problem. And I'd probably recommend also taking different weapon types into the underground, so that if you run out of bullets with your SMG, you can whip out your assault rifle and you can roll with that. But other than that, guys, that was it really. Look, as I said, I played it for quite a few hours today, and I really liked it. It's simple, it's straightforward, it's dynamic, it's good, I mean, it's sort of like right now we step into the dark zone and we kind of just go in the same path around in circles, killing stuff, and that's cool. I don't mind that. Obviously PvP kind of mixes that up. That's where the variable lives, and stuff hits really hard in there as well, so that kind of keeps you on your toes. But this is a very different kind of experience because it's literally different maps and different mobs and different sort of missions every time you play it, and that's just cool, And and the other thing I'll mention is that this is soloable. I've confirmed with the developers that this is soloable, and that it is actually sort of tweaked for solo play. Now, I'm not sure how far that goes. So for instance, I can solo a challenge mode mission right now, no problem. But if I tried to solo a challenge mode incursion, I would probably get wrecked, unless I'm that guy that's done that, and kudos to him. But it doesn't, I'm not sure if they've tuned like the heroic difficulty for solo play. All I know is that, yes, they said solo play is a viable option for this. So that's kind of cool as well. If you just feel like, going in there yourself and grinding away for a while, that'd be quite cool. Enemies do not drop any items throughout the mission, right? You'll only get those from the boss at the end and also from the mission reward. But what does drop is chests, and these chests can actually have some of the best gear. Like they had full I think the item level now has been pushed up to 268 maximum, and I'm pretty sure I remember getting a 268 set item from a chest just on a hard mode clear. Yeah, so that can happen. That's really interesting. One last thing I forgot to mention actually is these they've got these pulse things that kind of pulse out, and they stop you from using your abilities if you're anywhere near them, or they've got a very large radius though. So basically you kind of have to push into the area when you arrive and take out this pulsing, it looks like a turret that's kind of set up on a tripod in the middle of the room. Take it down, and then after that you'll be able to use your abilities again, but not before then. And it'll be really clear when you can't, because you kind of have this your aim gets sort of hazy, and it's quite clear. But look, overall, as I said, I enjoyed enjoyed this. It's chilled. It's I guess it was chilled because we did it on hard mode, but maybe it's super hard later on. I don't know. But for now, it looks pretty chilled out. It's very flexible. I could do it in groups, or I could do it solo. You know, it seems like a nice activity to add. You know, it's a good thing to have, and I really, yeah, I like it. It gets definitely a tick of approval from me, and I can definitely see myself dropping more hours into it. I do think it would have been kind of cool if the enemies had like a small chance to drop loot while we're progressing through, because not getting anything until the very end is kind of sucky. Even the chests, yeah, they're cool, but enemy drops would have been nice. But other than that, though, it's just a cool activity to go through. So yeah, guys, it comes out on the 28th of June on Xbox and PC, and it comes out on the 2nd of August for PS4. So you can check it out then when it drops for your platform. It is paid DLC. This is not free. Other platforms will get things like the weapon balancing and the heroic difficulties for other content for free. But if you want to do the underground, this is the paid DLC that you will need to pay for in order to get your hands on. So that's it, guys. That's pretty much everything, to be honest, when it comes to the underground. There's not much else I can really say. We'll learn a bit more as well about things like, you know, how does the currency work and all the like coming up in the future. But for now, there's going to be plenty more news on the way coming at you live from Los Angeles. This is Skill Up signing off. If you like this video, please drop a like and don't forget to subscribe. And I will see you guys very soon. Take care now. See you in the dark zone. Bye-bye.